To all the brothers, Yahweh Shema Latham, Bashim Yahweh, shout out to all the sisters. We're the Israelite School UPK, started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are all under Commanding General Yana. Go ahead and clap it up for class. You understand the Wednesday night law class here in Kansas City. If you have any questions, make sure you type your questions in. All right, right now I'm uploading in the comments section the sign in. You must sign in to earn your Hebrew name if you are a brother and sister that is a student in the school. You understand, right? As you see from tonight's topic, it's going to be a heavy class, man. We got a precinct officer of 500 right here to my left.
Christ.
You understand? We're going over a heavy topic that every black and Hispanic suffers from. All of us suffer from this thing here, and it is just a disgusting demon. You understand? And so we're going to go over this tonight in class. All right?
Most High in Christ.
So, I'm posting this sign in, and also make sure you sign in. You're logging in. All right? Make sure you're logging in. You get that credit for your Hebrew name. You understand? Or this is all for naught. You just come into class, and you want that name, and then, you're not getting it because you're not signing in. Make sure you sign in, man. That's very important.
That's right.
It's very important, all right? And also make sure you type in your questions. Remember, this is a class that you come to learn. This is the Israelite School of Practical Knowledge. This is a school, not a church. This is nowhere that you're going to get swindled like a goddamn politician swindles you. This is not that place. You understand? And here we're going to be brutally honest. We're going to tell the absolute truth. And clap it up for the truth. You understand? For our entire life, we didn't know what the truth was. We haven't known what the truth was since Christ walked the earth. But the Lord brought his prophets back in this earth, brother. And now you can learn the truth about weed. You can learn the truth about those drugs that you use. Learn the truth about the fentanyl that everything is laced with, that every child and adult is dying from. The police are dying from just from touching a bag of fentanyl because it's so potent, right? Learn the truth about all of the why you do it, right? I hear you, brother. I know, sister. I know why you get high. Trust me, we were in the world once. I totally understand. I know that life is hard, and life is supposed to be hard. Life is not supposed to be easy, right? If life was easy, then everybody would earn a reward. Life is supposed to be hard, so only the strong can earn a reward. Well, that drug that you use, it makes you weak, and you won't receive the reward that the Most High God has for you, man. Elisha, this precinct officer, man, give him a hand. You understand? For rolling heavy with me all the time. Oh, yeah. And this is his topic. This is his class. You understand? We're going to be going over it together, but this brother's going to break this whole drug down. He's going to break the drugs down and why there's a demon on all the drugs you use. Like everything, just always remember this. There's a reason why you do it. And this is something that General Muhammad has broke down time and time again, being the head of the council department over the whole entire nation of Israel. And so something he breaks down so eloquently, like he does everything, is that if you don't want to do it and you still do it, then what is making you do it? That's the question you should ask yourself. If you're a brother and sister that uses drugs, smokes weed, pops perks, now everybody don't have to smoke, so I can't say smokes drugs, because people now pop pills. Your son is 16 popping pills. You're in the other room firing up a blunt, firing up Swisher Sweets, getting high. You get high off of anything. If broccoli got you high, you niggas would be the healthiest drug addicts known to man, because you look for everything to get high. Right. Here's the heavy point. You don't want to really get high, which is why every drug addict says, man, I'm going to stop. I got to stop. I don't want to do this. If you don't want to do it, then why are you doing it? Tonight, we're going to go into why blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have such a lust to get high. Why blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the people who are known throughout the earth, even though smoking weed is a Hindu custom.
That's right.
Rastafari custom, that's not the custom of God's people. So how do blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, like Cheech and Chong, two Mexicans, or Snoop Dogg from the tribe of Judah, have the disgusting reputation of being drug addicts? We're going to go over that tonight as well.
That's right.
You understand? Go ahead, Elisha.
And so, like you said, if I may, just the drugs in general, we don't look at drugs in the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian communities as a bad thing.
That's right.
We embrace the drugs. Like you said, how is Cheech and Chong the face of a drug?
That's right.
How is Snoop Dogg the face of marijuana when that's not our custom and that's not our culture?
That's right.
But we're the face of everything that destroys us because our oppressor wants us to stay oppressed.
That's right.
You understand? So if you partake in smoking weeds and if you sitting around with your homies, with your buddies, sucking on a blunt with someone else's saliva on the back, that is unlawful according to the Most High God.
That's right.
And it's also very LGBTQ. I don't want.
That's right.
I'm not sucking on anything after any man.
Damn right.
Or anybody.
Damn right.
Negroes will go smoke after a complete stranger. That's what our oppressor does. They have those rave parties and they party all wild and they kiss and put their lips on everything.
That's right.
And just like you said, Adawan, that marijuana, you know what I mean? I like to be specific with the marijuana because our people does not think that that's a drug.
Right.
And marijuana is destroying blacks and Hispanics at an alarming rate, whether you understand it or not. You understand? Because we don't see the penalties of smoking marijuana because people don't die from cancer at the rate that they do with cigarettes. So we think it's safer when in fact you're going to get killed over marijuana.
That's right.
You're going to get killed for trying to sell it. You're going to die from trying to smoke it. You're going to go to prison like many brothers have.
That's right.
Before, and your life is going to be destroyed because that is a sin according to the Most High God, man.
Yeah, right.
You understand? That's a sin. So drugs in general, man, they are bad for you. They are unlawful, and it's against the Bible.
That's right.
And then, if I may, Baba Kashab, I wanted to get Jeremiah 4:22. I could read it for you and break it down, or vice versa.
No, I'll read it for you.
Kind of the kind, sir.
Jeremiah 4:22.
Kind of the kind, sir.
All right.
Because blacks and Hispanics need to understand that the things that we think is okay, the things that we think are wise, the things that are unlawful to the Most High God are foolish.
That's right.
But we think it is wise because Snoop Dogg raps about it on a you know, the latest songs.
Right.
I mean, every rapper raps about getting high.
That's right.
Hell, Future admitted that he didn't get high, but he knew he could rap about it to make it appealing to his audience ears.
That's right.
Because he knows that in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, we get high.
That's right.
And we think it's okay. And then we teach our children. I always tell Officer Malak this story about this sister who I was, you know, talking to. I didn't deal with her. Most High in Christ.
Most High in Christ.
I didn't deal with her. But, you know, just seeing a sister getting high with her son, man, it like broke my heart to see that.
Right.
Like, I mean, and the boy was, I mean, he was a very young boy. And to see the sister sitting, smoking a blunt with this young child who's 12, maybe 13 years old.
Right.
I mean, that's a turnoff.
Damn right.
That's a turnoff because she's teaching that young man how to die. I mean, we willfully teach your children how to die. You understand? And the Most High God said in this verse, you got that out of one?
Con.
You read about
Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 22. For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge.
Now the Bible says that we have no knowledge to do good.
Right.
First off, it says, for my people are foolish. Who is the Most High God's people? So-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. So we shouldn't be foolish. We shouldn't be smoking weed. We shouldn't be popping fentanyl. We shouldn't be snorting cocaine. We shouldn't be sleeping with hoes and celebrating our birthdays and doing all the disgusting, vile acts that are oppressive.
That's right.
Because that's not our culture.
That's right.
You understand? That's what makes us foolish when we get high. You understand? And when we disobey the Most High God. And it says, they have not known me. We don't know the Most High God.
That's right.
If we getting high out of wine in a circle, sucking on a blunt, you understand? If we're getting high, what is the other? Pouring up slime. Is that what they doing too?
God.
They're pouring up slime. They like to brag how it stick and look like mucus and snot.
Right.
And you know, in the different colors, I guess makes you higher.
God.
I didn't really grow up in that, so you know, forgive me if I'm ignorant to, you know, a lot of drugs because we don't use drugs in Isupk under Commanding General Hana.
That's right.
But point being, you don't know the Most High God if you're getting high.
That's right.
So all the Christians in the Christian church, they don't know the Lord.
That's right.
I know thousands of Christians who get high.
That's right.
They get high before church, after church, during church.
Right.
And then they say that they serve the Lord and they follow Yahweh Shah or Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Which is a lie.
Yeah.
Because right here in the Bible, in Jeremiah 4:22, it says if you don't obey God, that you don't know him.
That's right.
The Lord's people doesn't know him because of our disobedience, man. And it also says they are, what's that, sottish. Sottish means stupid.
That's right.
That means we are not, we are ignorant to the laws, statutes, and commandments because of the Christian church.
That's right.
Your pastor's going to tell us what we can get high.
That's right.
Because God knows your heart.
Right.
When God doesn't know your heart.
That's right.
He doesn't know your heart in the way that you think he knows. He knows that you're a sinful, lustful bastard.
Right.
And that's what he does. He does know. But, we get called a hate group.
God.
We get talked bad about because we teach our people the truth.
That's right.
We teach our people that you shouldn't use drugs.
Damn right.
What was the one cat that said that he wants all the weed heads in the church?
Bryant.
Jamal Bryant?
God.
Jamal Bryant, if you want to smoke weed, just go to his church.
That's right.
He's trying to start a dispensary right now because they have land. And he knows that all the people, Salakia, all so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians that are Christian, they don't know the Lord.
Right.
But they know who weed is. They know what weed is. They know they can go to church and fulfill their lust. That's what he does know. And he's going to make tons of money.
Right.
He's going to make tons of money and benefit more than we ever know. You're already paying tithes to the Christian church, and he's probably rolling around fat, I imagine.
John.
Now they're going to open a dispensary with the 10% of the money that you gave him.
That's right.
And then he's going to sell you weed.
That's right.
I mean, damn. I mean, pastors, that's a hell of a hustle right there, out of wine.
Hell yeah.
I should have thought about that when I was in the world. I was thinking about, standing on the corner selling rocks.
God.
I should have been going into church, just talking.
Right.
Just talking and making people feel good.
Yeah, right.
You understand? You got something to add on, out of wine?
God, if I may, when it
Please.
says that they are sottish children, like first the Bible says, God said this, that they are fools. You understand? My people are fools. We're foolish. He said,
right.
my people is foolish. We're a foolish people. Why? Because we believe in Dr. King. We still celebrate Thanksgiving. We celebrate Christmas, where you're going to put a tree in your house that's going to catch on fire and set the goddamn house on fire. You're going to put smoke in your lungs when your lungs are meant to breathe.
That's right.
There's certain chemicals in the air that you could not live with. If you live with them, then they will cause you to have cancer and get unalived.
That's right.
You're going to be unalived because of the chemicals that some people have around them. That's why certain jobs with certain chemicals require you to wear a face mask. Guess what? Those same chemicals are in your cigarettes. Those same chemicals are in your weed.
That's right.
Those same chemicals are in your fentanyl, in your perks, in your Swisher Sweets, Dutch Masters, Newports. That's what's in all of the things that you use. You know why? Because they are meant to kill you. And you're foolish. You have no understanding of it. The pack of cigarettes say, do not smoke.
Right.
There's studies out there say that weed is going to cause you cancer in the next 30 years. The same way cigarettes. And this is for all you weed heads that are foolish children. Sottish. Like a little child who doesn't know any better. Who's oblivious. You ever see a child that makes the uh-oh face like, oh, I didn't even know this was I didn't know this can happen. They touch a button and something happens. That's you idiots that smoke weed. You think that weed isn't a drug. It's harmless. They thought the same thing about cigarettes 50 years ago. When my mother was a child, do you know that women smoked cigarettes to help with the morning sickness? Doctors prescribed pregnant women at one time in America cigarettes. Because guess what? They didn't know, Elisha, that it was going to cause cancer for the baby in her 50 years later. You idiots that get high with weed, that weed you smoking that you think is so innocent because it comes from the ground, guess what? Tobacco comes from the ground too, And the pack of tobacco cigarettes say do not smoke, and you're still going to smoke. The weed industry makes trillions of dollars off of sottish children, off of weed THC gummies. THC gummies, pastors are trying to invest in weed is so big. 50 years from now, 40 years from now, the CDC is going to come out with a new study that says what? You shouldn't smoke weed because it causes cancer.
That's right.
After they gain trillions and trillions of dollars off of idiots like you. You understand? You're foolish. You're sottish children. You don't know anything. You don't know any better. You're like Jamal Bryant. You're like that nut down there in Georgia or Texas, Creflo Dollar, who didn't know what he was teaching was a lie for all of these years. He's innocent, Ak. He didn't know. He didn't know that what he was doing would ruin people's lives, just like Martin Luther King Jr. didn't know that integration would ruin the lives of his people, just like Malcolm X integrating his people into the Arabs' culture and the Arabs' religion would send brothers to prison by the millions 30 years after he died. He didn't know any better, Elisha.
Right.
Dr. King didn't know any better. Farrakhan said, I didn't know any better. I know that what I was teaching was a lie because I know my Savior is Christ. And he's leading innocent black men and Hispanic men to the Arabs nation of Islam, to a Muslim culture for Arabs that sends brothers to prison. It doesn't send Arabs to prison, but it sends your black sons and your Hispanic sons because our leaders are sottish children. And because our leaders are sottish children, guess what you are? You're an ignorant fool who doesn't know any better. You're oblivious in life. That's why you get high, because you wouldn't get high if you wasn't foolish.
That's right.
Only a foolish man would smoke. You are not healthy. And this is what it burns me up, Ak, because for the life of me, I can't understand why every drug addict that smokes weed, they think they're so enlightened, that they are so healthy. They drink sea moss and they eat sea moss, and they look at that Dr. Sebi, Elisha.
Oh, yeah,
they watch that Dr. Sebi as if he's God. And they think they're going to live to be 100. Meanwhile, you're going to get lung cancer and die at 30. You're going to die the way Pimp C died, but not making it to 40. You're going to die like Whitney Houston died, a drug addict on a drug overdose.
That's right.
Like Prince, like Michael Jackson, like Lord Infamous, like XXXTentacion, who didn't make it to C18. Like Juice WRLD, who didn't make it to C21. You're going to die a filthy, bum, broke, drug addict, just like all of your heroes. If you love black people, why would you get high? You don't understand anything about drugs. Why? Because you're a sottish child.
That's right.
You're a foolish person. You don't know. How could you know that getting high would lead to would lead to cancer? How could you know that? Let me guess, Elisha. You wouldn't know because you're an idiot. That's why you don't know. You don't know anything because God calls you a fool, a sottish child who doesn't know the Lord. You don't know God. You watch Dr. Sebi, you drink sea moss, you're doing the best you can, you're a spiritual being, you're a Virgo and a Cancer and a zodiac sign, and you get high and you think you're so enlightened. Meanwhile, you're nowhere close to God.
That's right.
You don't know who the Most High is. You don't know that God puts drug addicts to death. Why do you think that so many black people and Hispanics died during the crack epidemic? You think that was by mistake? That was by design. It was by design of the Lord to teach you idiots why you shouldn't get high, to teach you why you shouldn't smoke weed, why you shouldn't smoke Dutch Masters and Newports. Furthermore, you're wasting all of your youth,
That's right.
all of your health, all of your good years on what? Drugs. That's a $5 a day habit, $10 a day to get high, $15 a day to get high, and you're crying about poor drinking water in Flint. Well, nigga, if you didn't get high, we would have drinking water in Flint, Michigan. If you didn't buy drugs every day, if you didn't sell drugs every day, we would have drinking water in Jackson, Mississippi.
That's right.
You're silly. You're foolish. You're like a child who doesn't know his right from his left. I got to teach my 3-year-old son what right and left is. That's you. The Lord looks at you the way I look at my 3-year-old son. You don't know anything because you haven't been taught anything.
That's right.
But now you're being taught from the men of God to teach you why you should put down that cigarette, why you should put down that weed, why you should put down that Percocet and that Molly, why you should put back the Swisher Sweets and the Newports, why you should put down getting high because it makes you weak, because it gets you away from God. Getting high doesn't get you closer to God. Getting high gets you away from God. Getting high doesn't put you on the Lord's good side. Getting high makes the Lord angry with you. You kindle a fire in the Most High God every time you spark up that blunt, man. Salakia, you want me to keep reading?
Oh, what he said was absolutely Ellie Salakia. And this is how you can tell when someone is really dumb, according to the Bible. Like it says right here, because they are wise to do evil.
That's right.
You see them cats in the world like Big Meech. Everybody praises Big Meech because all the success he has and he had as a drug dealer.
That's right.
Or if you want to call him a kingpin. Everybody worships El Chapo.
Right.
Because all his accomplishments in the drug world.
That's right.
In the drug trade. But according to the Bible, they're dumb.
That's right.
They're dumb because they're wise to do evil.
That's right.
You understand? That's how you can tell someone that doesn't follow the Most High. They are dumb.
That's right.
Because they are wise to do evil. If you're wise to do evil, that means that you're not understanding that you're corrupting yourself, man.
Right.
That you're killing yourself.
That
lifestyle, and we say it all the time, it's in every rap song.
God.
This lifestyle, what we say in them rap songs out of wine, it's either death or prison.
Yeah.
We know it.
God.
We know it. As soon as we jump off the porch, we know that when we jump into the game, that it's only death or prison.
That's right.
That's stupid.
That's right.
To go willingly die and there's no other options.
That's right.
Because we don't have any obedience to the Most High God. And because of it, let me not leave out the piss poor leadership in the Christian church.
That's right.
You understand? Because they didn't show us another way. They didn't show us another way. They allowed us to follow our lusts. And because they profit off our lusts, now every young man is going to be trying to be like Big Meech.
That's right.
Everybody's going to try to be like Jay-Z.
That's
start
right.
out selling drugs to have a rap career.
That's
and
right.
start off selling drugs to start rapping.
That's right.
You understand? And every young brother that picks up a basketball, when he doesn't make it, when he realizes he's not going to get that scholarship and make all those millions, where's he going to go? He's going to sell drugs.
That's right.
You understand? Because we are wise to do evil,
right.
thanks to the piss poor leadership in the Christian church.
Damn right.
You understand?
Damn right. So like you finished with this scripture?
Kind of the concept.
I had one in Proverbs, if you could.
I got you.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 27. Bible was shot. Like what the brother was bringing out is so heavy because it's this. Like the Bible says that we are wise to do evil. Like you have wisdom, brother. You have a lot of wisdom. Like think about the slaves that we descend from who built America, who literally built America brick and mortar, hand in hand, from can't see to can't see, picking cotton, picking tobacco, cutting sugar cane, building D.C., architecturally designing Kansas City, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Oakland, New Orleans. The riverines that's in America were designed by black men. All of the dams that you have in America was designed by the intellectual engineering of black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The trains and the railroad tracks were industrially designed by black men. Up there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Steelers, or the Steel City, which is why the Pittsburgh Steelers are called the Steelers, because Pittsburgh is the Steel City. Metallurgy. Acetylene gas to weld metal together. That's black men. That's the children of slaves in the 18 and 1900s. The industrial age, the gilded age. That's because of black men. We have wisdom, brother. We designed the traffic lights. We designed a sewage system in Harlem, New York, and New York City in the 1850s. We designed the traffic lights like Garrett A. Morgan, the ironing board and the iron, designed the pressing hot comb, the printing press, the cotton gin, the car engine, the air conditioning unit, the computations for NASA, the computers for America. Blacks and Hispanics have wisdom.
That's right.
We have wisdom to build goddamn pyramids all over the earth. All over the earth, we have the wisdom to do it. You know why? Because we're God's chosen people.
Right.
You have wisdom, brother. You have wisdom. Here's the problem. You're wise to do evil not good.
Right.
That's our problem, man. You're wise to go, instead of going to school, engineering school for 4 or 5 years, and getting your master's in chemical engineering, getting your master's in architecture engineering, getting your master's in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, the way Officer 5,000 a bun up in New York has done. Master's in a nut engineer. He's a chemical engineering, electrical engineering nut up there at MIT, the most prestigious engineering school in the world, because he follows Commander Juliana Salaki.
Right.
And instead of being like Officer Abun and going to school for engineering and suffering the 6 and 7 years and suffering the $100,000 student loans, what you use your wisdom for is how to devise plans on how to hit a lick. You devise a evil plan on how to sell drugs to come up like Big Meech. You devise evil plans on how to set up the Crips and the Bloods to take over LA in an unrighteous way.
Right.
Killing other black men that look like you. Oppressing other black men that look like you. You come up with good, evil, deceptive ways on how to make money. That's evil. You're wise to do evil, man. You're wise to sell drugs because it's the easy way to make money.
Right.
You're wise to steal cars because it's the easy way to make money. You're wise to go be a pimp and a preacher in a church and lie to people because it is the easiest way to make all of the goddamn money. Steal all of the money, you become a preacher.
Right.
You're wise to do evil, like Dr. King. Wise to do evil, knowing that integration would hurt black people. He knew that integration would hurt black people. How did he know? Because at the end of his life, he said that I've led my people into a burning building. And he didn't say it with remorse. He said it knowingly because he's known it the entire time of the march. This is what black people have to start doing, researching things. When Dr. King was locked up in Selma, Alabama, you can look this letter up. It's called the Montgomery letter. When he was locked up in Montgomery, Alabama, I believe in 1958, and he was writing letters to white pastors.
Oh, okay.
He was writing letters to white pastors, and he was talking about the movement, the civil rights movement, and he said, where in the hell are all the white pastors? Like Billy Graham. Billy Graham wrote Dr. King back, and he said, Billy Graham said this in one of his sermons. He said that even though I do agree with our brother, Dr. King, and although I don't agree with some of his methods, he said, I do not agree that black people and white people should be together. And he was a Christian pastor known throughout the world. Known throughout the world. Dr. King was writing letters to white pastors all throughout the country, all throughout the South, begging them for their help and asking, where are you? Don't you believe in Jesus? Don't you believe in God?
Right.
Brother, this was in 1958. That's when this letter was written. By 1958 to 1968, that was a 10-year period. Dr. King knew in 1958 that this isn't going to work out. When he was sitting and rotting in a jail cell in Selma, Alabama, he knew that integration wouldn't work.
Right.
But you know what else he knew? He knew that he could swindle poor black people in Alabama. He knew he could swindle poor black people in Mississippi. He knew he could swindle poor black people in Georgia. He learned it from looking at his father, who was a pastor. He learned it from looking at white politicians like John F. Kennedy. He learned it from looking at white politicians like Dwight D. Eisenhower, swindling poor people. Abraham Lincoln, swindling poor people for their money. Politicians and reverends, they're the same. And he learned it. He learned it. It was an art for Dr. King.
Oh, yeah.
Because in 1958, he wrote a letter knowing that white people wouldn't come to join. They was not going to let him or his people integrate. He knew it was a waste of time. He knew it. He knew it. He absolutely knew it. It was in the letter. And so he knew that it was a waste of time, Elisha, but he was so wise.
Well, yeah.
He was wise to do evil.
Definitely wise.
He was wise to do evil.
Right.
He knew that integrating you would fail. He knew that integrating blacks and Hispanics to the oppressor and their enemy was the wrong idea and it wouldn't work. But you know why he continued with it? Money. Money. That's the cheapest hustle, the easiest hustle a nigga could do is be a Christian slimy preacher. Dr. King knew it, Jamal Bryant knows it. Creflo Dollar knows it. T.D. Jakes, woman thou art loosed. He knows it. He knows that he will swindle stupid black women with that woman thou art loosed. You got to use what you got to get what you want. Act like a lady, think like a man.
Right.
These pastors are wise. They're wiser than me and this brother here. But they're wise to do evil. In the UPK, we're wise. But we're wise to do righteousness. We're wise to do good. We're wise to teach our brothers and our sisters why they should suffer it and love the Most High God. Why they should love their brothers and keep the commandments. Why they should keep this commandment is greater above all the commandments. Loving the Lord as yourself.
That's right.
And loving your brother and treating your brother with dignity. That's and right. Righteousness and caring for him and loving him, brother. That is what we teach in the UPK.
Damn right.
Not how to swindle you out of your drawers like your preacher does your grandmama every Sunday. Nah, we're going to teach you to put down the pork and the shrimp and the weed and the fentanyl. We're going to teach you to stop getting shape-ups so that way we'll be a righteous people in the eyes of the Most High God. Right. You're wise to do evil instead of being wise to do righteousness. That's the type of people that are the Lord's. That's the people that belong to the Most High God.
Damn right.
The people that everybody sees as some righteous blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Not Cheech and Chong. Not Snoop Dogg. Not getting high culture. Not popping perks. I've never even heard of a white rapper the way they push black rappers popping Percocets out. And Lord knows, everybody knows this out, that the oppressor, they get high more than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
They buy more drugs than anybody.
Facts.
Those frat parties at these white institutes and these colleges and these lawyers, don't forget about these white lawyers who snort more cocaine then Tony Montana. These white lawyers who's getting your son off of a drug charge, he's going in the back in his office and he's snorting a mound of cocaine this big. Those white lawyers and white businessmen in New York, on Wall Street, brother, they do more drugs than a little bit. More drugs than Tony Montana. More drugs than the Italian mafia could ever sell in a weekend. They're snorting it in a day. But they're not known as drug dealers. They're not known as drug addicts.
That's right.
Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are known as drug addicts. You're known as the welfare queen with one baby in your arm and a crack pipe in the other. How come white women ain't known as that, brother? They get more volume than anybody. You don't know about white women's drug habit to volume? You can look it up. How white women do more drugs than, God, black women could dream of. They able to go to that doctor and they're able to tell that doctor, I'm having pain, and the white doctor is going to give that white woman, his wife, volume. And she's going to overdose on volume. She's going to overdose on fentanyl and Percocets and hydrocodone because of pain that she's having in her left arm. Pain she's having in her right knee. They're the real drug addicts.
Yeah,
but
right.
you would never know because everybody paints you, black man, to be a drug addict. When the Bible says that if you were righteous and you didn't smoke weed and you didn't get high, then everybody would see you as righteous. Go ahead,
Right.
Dr. Salaki.
Salaki, sir, if I may, what you bringing out is so heavy. And when you was talking, something crossed my mind. Because not only is our oppressor, the so-called white man, not only are they the biggest drug addicts, they're the biggest drug dealers.
That's right.
We think Big Meech was on a level.
Right.
We think El Chapo was on a level.
Right.
Hell, the oppressor gets paid quadruple.
That's right.
They get paid quadruple because not only are they bringing the drugs in, they're getting a percentage when you sell the drugs.
That's right.
When you get caught, they make more money when you go to prison.
That's right.
They also, they're fighting wars with drugs. Just imagine that.
That's right.
They're fighting wars with drug money. And all these drugs that we are currently using, like I was saying, I'm not familiar with all these new drugs. Our oppressor has been known about them.
That's right.
All these fentanyl and all these volumes and all these pills that they've been going to the doctor getting prescribed to for years. We're late.
That's right.
We're late. We're making it popular in pop culture because our oppressor wants us to be the face of the drug.
That's right.
So they can sit back and be like, well, yeah, them niggers, Salakia. Those, what's
black
the better
people.
word? Those black people, look at them.
Yeah.
Look at them. They're...
And Salaki, if I may,
Please.
just a couple of years ago, there was a big opioid epidemic.
How can
for white people? White people was, and to this day, in meth and opioids, the oppressor, they have conquered that like it's nobody does meth and opioids like an oppressor. Oppressors do meth and opioids so much that the American government just 3 years ago passed laws to not lock white boys up and teenage white girls up that was smoking opioids and using opioids because it was an opioid epidemic. And the oppressor was so sad to see their white children die in America from drug abuse. The same drug abuse that black people suffered 30 years ago during the crack epidemic in the 80s and 90s. But your black politicians didn't stand up for you the way white politicians in Ohio and Missouri and Kansas stood up for white children that was overdosing on opioids left and right. Fentanyl left and right. Like here it is, the oppressor does drugs like you couldn't imagine. And they do it recreationally. You think you smoke weed recreationally. You do it because you've been molested.
Right.
You do it because you're a slave.
That's right.
You do it because you have no might in your hand to fight oppression. And because you're oppressed, you use fentanyl. And you try out drugs. You try out weed. You get addicted to it and you do it because it helps ease your pain. The oppressor is not easing any pain. The oppressor is the winner. He's the oppressor. He's the devil the Bible speaks of.
Right.
He won. And he uses drugs. You know why? Because he uses it recreationally. He uses it to have fun, just to take the load off every once in a while from his $600,000 a year job at the law firm. And he uses it, and they were overdosing on it the way black women and black men were overdosing on crack in the 80s. And white politicians made laws so they don't go to jail, but they go to a rehabilitation center for their drug addiction.
That's right.
You think that you are the drug addicts of the earth. You are not. You are not. But here's the problem. The problem is you have to stop using drugs. You have to stop smoking weed. You have to stop popping perks and every pill you can get your hands on. You don't even care what goes in your mouth. You just have to take something that's gonna get you high. If the goddamn grass that grows in front of your yard, brother, do you know if grass got people high that grew out front of the yard? Just regular crabgrass.
Yeah, we'll find it.
Brother, do you know that there wouldn't be a lawn left in the United States of America because all you want to do is get high because you're oppressed? I understand. I got you. I get it. But this is what the Bible says. This is what the Lord said. Give me Proverbs chapter 16, verse 27.
And so, like I said before,
Please.
Just before you go into that, I wanted to say this as well, just to add this along to what you were saying and what I was going to say. Marijuana, starting with marijuana, because that's the drug that no black person looks at as a drug. But when those hippies, remember when those hippies were getting high? Mm-hmm. That wasn't our culture.
That's right.
But because black, Hispanics, and Native Indians, because we envy our oppressor, we want to choose all of their ways.
That's right.
And not the ways of the Lord.
That's right.
When we try to keep up with our oppressor, like how Martin Luther King wanted us to join hands because he envied his oppressor, that's why there's no more HBCUs.
That's right.
That's why there's no more Black Wall Street. That's why there's no more Negro Leagues.
That's right.
Now, we envy our oppressor. We choose all of the ways. Now we're getting high off drugs that we would never, ever have done back in the day before integration.
That's right.
We looked at drug dealers prior to integration like they were filthy, disgusting bastards. Now, since we're joined hand in hand, and because we envy our oppressor, we're going to go ahead and just use every drug. Because you got Negroes using meth today. I remember meth was like, nigga, meth? That's a white we would say that's a white people drug.
That's right.
We would say that's a white people drug. Now it's Negroes in the ghetto in 2023 smoking meth or snorting it.
That's right.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, right. Give brother a hand. If I could, get Proverbs 16 and 27.
I got you, Adawan.
This is what all of you brothers and you sisters need to hear. Read.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 27. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is a burning fire.
This is what I mean. It's almost black culture now, like shot at. Black people make the excuse, it was just herb. That was an excuse in the 70s from Vietnam vets to deal with that PTSD, and they would say it's just herb. It comes from the ground. It don't hurt anybody. It's just herb. Meanwhile, you are just a filthy drug addict. And Kansas City has a huge problem with getting high. We see it when we go to camp here.
Oh, yeah. You
brothers, even ones that hold down jobs, you're a functioning drug addict. Mm-hmm. You brothers and sisters out there are just drug addicts in Kansas City. You get high. LGBT alternative lifestyle ain't the demon in Kansas City, Elisha. What's another one? Murder, that's a heavy demon we got out here too. But here's what the problem is. Murder is driven by drugs. Do you know that? Do you know that drugs and murder go hand in hand?
Oh, yeah.
When you sell drugs, you're going to have a gun. Somebody's going to try to rob you because they know you sell drugs. You're going to get shot or you're going to shoot them. It drives the murder in Kansas City. You want to know why Kansas City 10 years straight is the #1 murder capital in America with 3 back-to-back black mayors. Black mayors Kansas City has had for the last 10 years, Mayor Quentin Lucas, Sly James, and Emmanuel Cleaver. Since I was a child in the 90s, for the past 26 years, Kansas City has had black mayors. And do you know in the past 26 years, the crime in the black community in Kansas City has driven sky high to the point that there was a year, I believe the year 2015 or 14, brother, do you know that on the first day of Esau's New Year, January 1st, there were like 4 or 5 homicides on the first day, on the first day. That year, Kansas City had went on, you can look this up, Elisha. Kansas City went on to have, I want to say 200 murders. Kansas City is not a big city. Furthermore, Kansas City doesn't have a high black population the way other big cities do. You look at Philadelphia, New York, Houston, Chicago, LA, and those are Miami, Jacksonville. Those are cities that have over 1 million people easily. And they also have a lot of black people in those cities. Kansas City is not one of those cities. Kansas City has probably the least black population out of any major city in America. That might actually be a statistic. Like Kansas City's black and Hispanic population it probably isn't even 4% of Kansas City's population now. Like, we're small here in Kansas City. Meanwhile, the murder is so high amongst black people. You know why? Because niggas in Kansas City love to get high. That's why. Those Mexicans down there on 10th Street love to get high. Those black people that buy drugs from the Arabs here on 12th Wayne and Minor, they love to get high. It's been a problem here since I was a kid. And I know Isupk can speak to the same thing. Wet is a drug that you dip weed or a cigarette in formaldehyde and some chemical just to get high. And that is a Kansas City staple, to be a wet head, to be clunked out. Like, we got so many Kansas City use verbiage, colloquialisms for somebody that's a drug addict. You know why? Because it's such a part of our culture here in Kansas City. When you're black and Hispanic in Kansas City, you're going to grow up with an aunt that gets high. I know I did. An uncle that's a crackhead. A family member that does drugs. Elisha, am I making this up? They all did drugs. I don't think there's a black person you're going to meet from Kansas City who doesn't know anybody in their family who did drugs.
We thought it was normal.
It was normal, It was so normal. And that's why we have to go over this tonight, because you have a problem in Kansas City with getting high.
That's right.
It's your culture here. You're like a bunch of walking zombies. Now, here's something that I will say about coming from Lexington Market in Baltimore. Okay, Kansas City doesn't have those type of drugs like Lexington. But weed, you smell it coming out the walls in Kansas City. The weed is something serious here, Wet and weed. Wet and weed are just the drugs my whole entire life in Kansas City. That's all you knew is wet heads and niggas that smoke weed. And we make it such a small thing to smoke. We make it like it's nothing. Like it's absolutely nothing. Like it's not in the Bible to not smoke. We make it as though God approves of smoking. That's what a weed addict in Kansas City would tell you. Well, you know it comes from the ground. You know it comes from the earth. The Lord put this here. The Lord put weed here. What? So you can smoke it. I guess that's why the Lord put weed here. Yeah, that's what the Lord put tobacco here so you can buy Newports and Camels. I guess that's what he put it here for. Well, let's see what the Lord said about smoking. Read what you got, Elisha.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 27. An ungodly man.
A what type of man?
Ungodly man.
No, a man that follows the Lord.
Ungodly man.
A man that loves God.
Ungodly man.
A man that respects and reveres the Most High God.
An ungodly man.
One that fears the Lord.
Ungodly man.
An ungodly man does what, Ak?
Diggeth up evil. And in his lips there is a burning, there is as a burning fire.
Come on, man. This is about smoking and doing drugs. You cannot be a drug addict and love the Lord. I know we all had that auntie that she is so precious. She was such a sweetheart, but she just was a crackhead. I know she means well. They all mean well. R. Kelly meant well. And that's the issue that we have to face, that we have to suffer. We have to suffer what they mean well. They mean, I had a cousin that was murdered and he was unalived by a police officer. And do you know that I had a family member tell me, you know, right before he died, he was on his way to pay tithes to the church. And they said that as if it made him not be worthy of death.
That's every funeral.
Not be worthy of the punishment that the Most High God gave him for being a stinking drug addict smoking weed. If you smoke weed, guess what? You deserve to die the way a rapist that rapes a woman against her will deserves to be put to death. You're no different. And that's the problem. We think that every drug addict means well, that every drug dealer, because he buys you a turkey or a gift for Thanksgiving, they mean so well. Well, the Bible says that you are ungodly.
That's right.
You know what else is ungodly? Pedophiles are ungodly. Men and women who prey on innocent young children, right. They're ungodly. A rapist is ungodly. A murderer is ungodly. Someone who gets lineups are ungodly.
That's right.
People who commit adultery and have sex with married women, you're ungodly. And furthermore, you're a disgusting piece of garbage. You're ungodly. Well, guess who else is ungodly? Read.
An ungodly man diggeth up evil.
What do you got to do with tobacco?
Diggeth up evil.
What do you have to do with weed?
Diggeth up evil.
What do you have to do with the coca leaf that cocaine comes from?
Yeah. Diggeth up evil.
Do you know that the poppy seeds that come from the ground that heroin gets produced from. It comes from what?
Dig it up evil.
You have to dig it all up. Every
That's
drug, you have to dig it all up. Somewhere in the Amazon or Vietnam or somewhere in Mexico, you have to dig it up. You have to dig up marijuana. You have to dig up cocaine. You have to dig up tobacco. You have to dig up heroin. You have to dig all these drugs that you love up. You have to dig it all up. And the Bible says that an ungodly man diggeth up this evil.
That's right.
That's the whole point. The point of this line here, in this sentence says that an ungodly man diggeth up evil. Meaning it's not ungodly to dig up tulips.
Right.
It's not ungodly to dig up roses. It's not ungodly to dig up a tree. That's not ungodly, man. That tree, you want that tree removed, it's gone. But this is what's ungodly, for you to dig up something that's evil. How do you know that weed is evil? Just go and look at your ghetto that you're from. Look how drugs ruin your family and your childhood. And you tell me if drugs are good, Elijah. Look at all the years you did in the penitentiary behind what? Drugs. 90% of black and Hispanic men are in prison for what? Somebody help me out. Is it murder? Is it rape? Is it molestation? Nah, it's drugs. That's the reason why you're going to jail, black man. Not because of rape or being a murderer. You're going to jail because of drugs. Drugs push the murder in your city. Drugs push all of the abuse in your city. That's what you're going to prison for. That's what you did that's what ruined your whole entire childhood. Drugs. Your father or your mother, girl, she got high and he got high. And guess what they did, sis? They abused you. They sexually assaulted you. You were molested because your uncle was a filthy drug addict. Don't you see the way drugs are so evil? Don't you see why Percocets? Don't you see all of the black people that you love, like Nipsey Hussle and XXXTentacion? Y'all love Pimp C and Lord Infamous down south. You love, what's the sister in Tennessee who just died from UGK? Not UGK, I'm sorry, from Gangsta Boo. You love Gangsta Boo, don't you? Don't you love DMX? Everybody from east to west love DMX. Oh, yeah. From the Midwest to the East Coast to the West Coast, we all love DMX. But guess what DMX died from? A drug overdose. God, Lord knows. Anybody that knows me knows I love Whitney Houston. I loved her voice. I loved her sound. Beautiful I loved her voice. Style. And she was a bad sister. A bad sister from the tribe of Judah. And Lord knows I love me some of them. I love me some of them Judite women.
I'm right there with you.
And Whitney Houston died a drug addict.
Damn right.
Michael Jackson was the king of pop, worth $1 billion. Died a drug addict. Don't you see that all of the people that you ever loved died from using drugs? So how could drugs be so enlightening? How could drugs get you closer to God? How could drugs be good? What's the opposite of evil? Good. This is somebody that's digging up evil. What's evil? The drugs that took out your entire race of people.
That's right.
During the crack epidemic in the 80s, the heroin epidemic in the 70s, and the Molly pop pills culture epidemic in the 2010s. It has ruined our way of life. It has ruined your child's education, his fundamentals. It has ruined your father. It has ruined your mother. It has ruined your entertainers, your livelihood, your people, your way of life. It has ruined everything about being black and Hispanic drugs. It's the reason why Mexicans are fleeing to America. They're fleeing to America. Why? Because of the violence from the drug cartels in Mexico.
Damn right.
How in the hell could you be Mexican or you be a brother from the tribe of Isupk, La Raza, and love El Chapo? How in the world could you be from La Raza and love marijuana, love coco, love perico? How could you do it, man? It's the reason why your mother and your father died crossing the Rio Grande Valley to get to America, a country that was once theirs. How could you love it? It ruined your way of life in Mexico.
Right.
It's the reason why a young 16-year-old and the Sinaloa cartel could walk up to your 40-year-old father and blow his goddamn brains out if he doesn't pay him his money on time. And so now your mother takes the entire family to San Antonio, Texas, to Houston, Texas, to San Antonio, to Laredo, Texas. It's the reason why you're here in America. It's the reason why your mother and your father was killed and left back. It's the reason why your uncle had to come up here to Kansas City down there on 10th Street where all of the Issacharites are at.
And
Wyandotte where all of the Issacharites are at. And work a dead-end job just to feed their family back in Mexico. It's the entire reason that the tribe of Issacar is here, because of the drug cartels in Mexico. It's the reason the Colombians are here, fighting on the train to America, losing life and limb. This the reason why the Trinidadians. It's the reason why all of the Central and South Americans from the tribes of Asher and Issachar and what's some other ones, Zach? What's the Zebulon? Ephraim. It's the reason why they are all losing their life to get here, thanks to the drugs that you use. It's the reason why, man. How in the world could you love it if it has literally destroyed everything about your life? That is something that is evil, Elisha. That is something that is evil, brother. That is something that is sick, sister. The Bible says that this ungodly man diggeth up this evil. Diggeth up this evil. And what do they do with this evil, Elisha?
And in his lips, there is as a burning fire.
There is as a what?
Burning fire.
There is as a what?
Burning fire.
Brother, what do you do with weed? What do you do with cigarettes? What do you do with crack? What do you do with cocaine? What do you do with heroin? You smoke it. That's what you do with it. You smoke it. And what do you have to do to smoke it? You have to inhale it with your lungs.
That's right.
That's what you do, man. This is speaking about drugs. That evil that you dig up is drugs. That evil that you smoke is drugs. That evil that you burn to your lip is drugs. All of the brothers from the tribe of Benjamin with the Rastafarian culture thinking that it's your culture to grow stinking, filthy dreadlocks and get high. That is the culture of heathens, of Shiva, of the Hindu, of the East Indians, of Elam, who are a disgusting, nasty, grotesque people that the Most High God hates. The Most High God hates Rastafarianism. The Most High God hates weed. How could you get high, brother, being from Jamaica, and you witnessed all of the crime in Kingston? You witnessed all of the crime in give me Haiti and Port-au-Prince. You witnessed all of the crime in those cities and those slums in Jamaica and Trinidad and Antigua and Barbuda and Barbados. How could you get high, Yak? How could you agree with Rastafarian culture when that culture has destroyed Jamaica's culture? It has destroyed the beauty of Jamaica. It has destroyed the beauty of Trinidad. It has destroyed the beauty of St. Croix and St. Lucius. It has destroyed the beauty of all of the people that live there. Everybody there is just a stinking, filthy drug addict because of this evil that you have to dig up. That's why God calls a person that gets high ungodly. That's the reason why. Because it destroys God's people, this drug. That's right. Something that is so cheap. Drugs ain't expensive, it's cheap. And you're going to waste your entire paycheck on it just to escape reality, just to escape pain, just to escape heartache, just to escape life. God doesn't want you to escape life. God doesn't want you to escape reality. The Most High God wants you to find your nearest Israelite school of universal practical knowledge and get the hell in class so you can stop smoking weed, so you can stop getting high, so you can stop digging up evil. You need to get in class so you can face reality and hit it head on, so you can get your reward, so you can earn your reward. Those drug addicts, they're not going to earn a reward if they don't stop being drug addicts. You think this life is meant to be easy? It's not. You don't have to smoke drugs and use drugs just to get through life. You know what you have to do? Suffer life.
That's right.
Suffer the pain. Suffer the atrocities that you see on your block. Suffer it and makes you stronger so you can fix it. So you can fix the atrocities you see on your neighborhood. So you can go back down to Jamaica and you can take this truth to Jamaica and fix it. So you can take this truth to Kansas City and fix Kansas City like this brother sitting next to me has done, man. He's taken this truth to Kansas City, brought this truth here under Commanding Juniana, and he's stuck by my side. Yeah, and right. He said, brother, I may have been a brother in the world who did these things, but I see the pain of my people.
That's right.
And it hurts,
right.
Just like me. Just like Commanding General Yana, just like all the brothers you see in the UPK. We were once drug addicts too. You don't think we smoke weed? We smoked weed too when we were in the world. We sold drugs too when we were in the world. That's why we know it so well. We were once you. And if we could get off of drugs, best believe you can get off of drugs too. We had horrible lives worse than you.
That's right.
Horrible lives worse than you. If we could do it, you could do it too, brother. You could do it too, sister. You don't have to be ungodly. You don't have to not have the favor of the Lord over your life. The Lord is, you kindle a fire in the Most High God when every time you spark up a blunt, every time you snort cocaine, every time you smoke methamphetamines, you pop perks, you anger God. You anger him, man. Why is he angry? Because it's sad to see his people, a people who are righteous, get high. A people who are once on top of the entire planet Earth be this people who are low, who have to now go and fiend under somebody to get. Sisters will perform oral sex on somebody just for a hit of weed, Doc. Does that sound like a godly person? Does that sound like somebody the Lord loves? Does that sound like something that God approves of? It is not. Drugs are the reason that whores roam the streets of Prospect in Kansas City. You won't have prostitution if it wasn't for drugs. You wouldn't have theft and robberies if it wasn't for drugs. You wouldn't have murders in Chicago in the Wild 100s, here in 24th Street and 12th Street in the 50s. You won't have it. Fat Tone would have never been murdered if it wasn't for drugs.
Right.
Mac Dre would have still been alive had it wasn't for drugs.
Right.
Whitney Houston would have been alive if it wasn't for drugs.
Right.
Your grandmother and your parents would have been better parents if it wasn't for drugs. Drugs are the sole reason why we grew up the way we did. Drugs are the sole reason why we lost our friends at 14, at 16, at 17, at 12, and you want to go and get high. God said you're ungodly. God said that an evil, wicked, disgusting bastard would get high. That's right. Not my words. That's the words that are in the Bible, man. You better learn to obey the Lord and stop getting high, man. There are demons that are on those drugs that cause men and women to do things they wouldn't do if they weren't high.
It was sober.
If you were sober, do you think that you would have forced that woman to have sex with you? If you were sober, sis, do you think you would get naked for an entire audience to see on the World Wide Web? Do you think you would have performed all of those sexual acts on strange men for money if it wasn't for drugs? Do you think that you wouldn't be the mother you were if it wasn't for drugs? You're a terrible mother who doesn't give a damn about her children. You aborted 3 babies. You're unalived 5 babies in your womb. Why? Because of drugs. That's why. Because you had to get high. Because you couldn't face reality. Don't you see the issue it is, the problem, the evil it possesses? There's a demon on it, man. You wouldn't do the things you did if you wasn't high. There are murderers convicted in prison that are on record admitting, I was high. I didn't know what I saw a brother give a testimony in court and said, I was high, Your Honor. I apologize. I murdered those 2 people because I was high.
You wasn't lying.
Now, how many brothers are locked up that were high when they committed those crimes? I would guess about 90% of them are. 90%, maybe you're 95. I might be lowballing. Like, go ahead, please.
When they kicked in my spot, I was high.
Please, come on, man.
Salaki.
Now, go ahead.
Salaki, I was high.
Give the brother a hand for being one West and telling the truth and coming and finding Commander Juniana.
That's right.
He didn't want to be high anymore. Am I right, Elisha?
Oh, you're definitely right.
He found Commander Juniana and he stopped getting high and stopped doing what he was doing. I ain't going to put it all out there, man. When he came into UPK, Kansas City got safer.
That's right.
The 50s got safer when this brother came into the UPK, man. Give him another hand, man. All of those brothers and sisters out there scared to death when Officer Elisha was rolling them streets in the 50s. But listen, he in the school now. Now you better be very afraid because now he's coming to tell you to put the weed down.
That's right.
Put the hoes down.
That's right.
Put the drugs down.
That's right.
Put the prostitutes down. Put the lining on your head down.
That's right.
You look like a clown and it's a sin against God. Put it all down. Spraying lines on your head. It's a sin against God. Put it all down for the Most High in Christ, the way this brother did, man.
That's right.
Brother, please believe if he could do it, if I could do it, you could do it too, man.
Damn right.
You can put the drugs down. You can stop being a lustful bastard over drugs. You can stop being so weak. Drugs make you weak, Ike. There's a study now by one of those schools. We got to find this one. This was a heavy article brought out by Captain Natazak Shah in Virginia. And he brought this article out of camp, and it said that drugs make you weak. That's literally what these scientists have found out. That in all of these men that smoke weed, in particular, and use drugs like fentanyl and cocaine and abuse drugs, it makes you weak. Do you brothers know that you can't get an erection? This is something that, brother, I can't even imagine. This is my worst nightmare. Brothers so casually take honey packs. I didn't know what the hell a honey pack was until I encountered a brother my age.
I don't even know what it is.
It's a male performance enhancement drug to make that thing hard. It makes that soldier of yours stand up. And this is I just thought growing up, that is so embarrassing to be a man and you can't perform in the bed with your woman.
Especially in your youth.
Brother, if I'm 40, God damn it, I don't want to take no performance enhancement drugs. I'm nowhere near 40, Salakia, to the brothers that are. But I just can't see a brother taking drugs when I was coming up. It was something like that's something your grandfather did. Like a 90-year-old man took some goddamn Viagra, a blue pill. These brothers now, they can't even perform in that bedroom, Elisha. They can't perform in that bedroom with those women and with them wives they got. They have to take honey packs, Elisha, and they have to take male enhancement performance drugs. It's not a sin.
Good night.
But you know the reason why you got to take all of those drugs to maintain that erection in front of a bad sister. And the UPK, we don't have to do none of that honey packs. And the UPK, we're enhanced enough. Give that a hand. Give the Lord a hand for being one West and hard all the time. Coming hard all the time, brother. And the UPK, we don't need those enhancements, Elisha. I pray that every sister and brother out there understands that when you one Westside, there's something about being one Westside. Brother, you don't need honey packs. Moving on. The reason you have to take all of those honey packs and Viagra and Cialis at 28 and 32 is because of all the lean that you drink. There is a side effect of drinking all of that lean, all of that promethazine, popping those mollies in that perk. The side effect is your soldier won't stand up and perform his duty when it's time. You got some bad thick sister, and you're so full of lean and drugs, that soldier ain't gonna perform his duty when it sees that thick sister. So now you're 28 and have to use honey packs from the 7-Eleven, from some East Indian, Blue Chew and Cialis and Viagra. Why? Because you're using drugs. If you wasn't using drugs, you would perform in that bedroom. You ask us, we got all these ribs. Brother, that's because we don't need any enhancement drugs. We're enhanced enough in the UPK. You understand? Right. We don't need Blue Chews and Cialis and Viagra. We got it, brother. We got it. We got it from here. We don't need a drug to help us perform in front of a bad sister. We can do all the work ourselves naturally because we don't use drugs in here. Because the brothers in here aren't drug addicts. Those drugs you use, brother, they make you weak, literally. You can't even be a man. A man's duty is to do what? Perform in that bedroom with a woman. How in the world could you call yourself a man if you 28 and you have to use Blue Chews and honey packs? How could you do it knowing that you're full of lean, knowing that you're full of Molly, knowing that you're full of fentanyl, knowing that you're full of Percocets? You can't even perform in front of these women. Go ahead.
So like you say, because they believe the drugs make them better.
Brother.
That's what they believe. That's what they rap about, talk about. The drugs in their mind makes them better. Mm-hmm. Because the women that they sleeping with are, of course, are drugged out.
And
drug addicts.
Whores.
And they're whores as well.
Salaki.
They hoes, Salaki, and they're drug addicts.
That's right.
So if you got two drug addicts and if y'all both getting high on the same drug.
And that vagina is dry.
And he thinks it's better.
It's dry.
She thinks she's better. He thinks he's better because they're drug addicts and they're wise to do evil.
Damn right, get it, brother. Listen, Elisha, tell those sisters, if you smoke weed, which is scientifically proven, it makes that thing, that box, that matrix, dry. You think that you got it all because that behind is big and those breasts are popping out. It's disgusting down there. You're a woman that doesn't smell feminine. You smell like weed and dreads. You smell like dreadlocks. You smell like a man. Sisters are supposed to smell feminine and smell kind and sweet and soft. They're supposed to smell the way they act. You sisters, you smell just like weed. You stink of weed in that box. That matrix of yours is absolutely bone dry. You see this here? You see this shofar? You see how dry this thing is, Elisha?
Yeah, I see it.
That's how dry that box is, sis. That's how dry that matrix is. That thing is supposed to be gushing like flowing from living waters.
That's a rough one right there.
And you sisters, you can't be feminine. How in the world you're in the bed with a man, you smell like weed and dreadlocks, and you can't even get You can't get any moisture down there because of all of the weed you smoke. It has negative effects, brothers and sisters. That's all I'm trying to tell you, Elisha. That's all I'm trying to tell him, Mark. I'm just trying to tell you, brother, if you do all these drugs, you're going to need honey packs at 27. You're going to need blue chews at 27. I've never seen so many ads in my life for male performance enhancement drugs until now. And guess what I figured out? You know why there's so many ads for male performance enhancement drugs? Because so many young men, so many brothers and sisters use drugs. You abuse weed. You smoke. You get high. You smoke cigarettes. All of it has the same negative effect on that soldier. That's all I'm trying to tell you, Ak. That's all I'm. And to give the brother a hand. The brother said Salakia. Dry and funky. It stinks down there, sis. I wasn't trying to say it. The brother said it for me. I wasn't trying to say it. He said it, Elisha. I didn't say it. It stinks down there, sis, because you get high. It stinks. It stinks and it's dry and it's disgusting and it's the opposite of what a man wants. He's only doing it because you're so easy to have sex with. That's the reason why he's struggling getting up in there. Because it's easy. You should stop getting high. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's the whole point. Give that a hand. Stop getting high. Go ahead, Elisha.
It's a lot, if I may. I got a few things that I wanted to bring out. I know we pressed for time.
Go ahead, please.
So now this is marijuana. This is marijuana risk. You understand? These are marijuana risks. I'm talking about scientists are actually going in researching. They're like, well, marijuana isn't that good like people portray.
Yeah.
Like we portray, like Snoop Dogg portrays.
And that's the
like
CDC?
Cheech and Chong portrays. What is this? This is Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration.
Good night,
So they're saying, first off, they're saying approximately 1 in 10 people who use marijuana will become addicted when they start before age 18. Now, if you look in the so-called Black, Latino, or Native Indian community, like I said, I knew a sister who was smoking with her child. So more than likely, she was smoking with an adult.
That's right.
You understand? And that cycle continues. Now, it says marijuana risk. It can have a negative and long-term effect. Brain health, if you care about your brain, I don't want. I mean, if you care about the, you know
they don't.
You know, if you care about the if your brain's done, I mean, if your brain's gone, it's a wrap.
That's right.
It's a wrap.
That's right.
So it says brain health. Marijuana can cause permanent IQ loss of as much as 8 points when people start using it at a young age. These IQ points do not come back even after quitting the marijuana. So if you lose IQ points, if you smoke marijuana before the age of 18, like most of us tried.
All of us do.
All of us tried.
All of you niggas smoke weed at 12. I think that was the age they start smoking at 12 and 14.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. But if you lose these IQ points, right, and you're oppressed by your oppressor,
right,
and you're coming up in the hood and the barrios and the ghettos and the reservations,
right,
you don't have the IQ as a normal child would have.
That's right.
So like you said, if we're using these drugs, our IQs are low and we're going to do crime.
That's right.
And our oppressor is banking on it.
That's right.
So just because you use marijuana and think that it's not a drug, it's affecting you. It's affecting the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians in more ways than we know, man.
That's right.
In way more ways than we know.
Damn right.
You understand? Because...
Go ahead, please.
Oh, Salakia.
No, go ahead, please.
Mental health.
I was just about to say something about that.
No, go ahead, please.
If I may, and that's the reason why you see all these sisters twitching and shaking.
Go
You're
ahead.
bipolar, tripolar, multiple personalities. You don't know what's going on. You just a sister just in the corner twitching and shaking, afraid of every shadow, afraid of every phone call. She can't think straight. She got anxiety attacks. She's at the goddamn slavery at her job, passing out at Amazon warehouse. She got all these anxiety attacks and she can't think. That's because of drugs, sis. All of you brothers who are so weak, you brothers that are so weak, you can't even run a mile without passing the hell out. That's because of drugs, brother. You're weak. You can't fight. You can't even fight the goddamn police when they have a knee on your brother's neck and they're unaliving him right in front of you. You're going to show up to the court. You're going to show up to the courthouse during the damn murderer's trial and you're going to start crying and weeping. Am I making this up? I'm not. We just went over this last night. The 5 black people that watched George Floyd, 5 of the black people that watched George Floyd get unalived in front of them, they all wish they would have stopped him. They all wish they had the courage. Listen, courage comes from not getting high, Yak. If you want courage and you want not to be a coward, that comes from putting down blunts. Blunts make you a coward. Getting high makes you weak. You're not on the level of a man that trains every day. In the UPK, we train every day. We train in physical warfare. We train in spiritual warfare. You're not equipped to, and you're not fit to run with the priest of God. You're not fit to run with the children of slaves. You're not fit to run with the men in the UPK, and I mean that both spiritually and physically. Because you get high, you're not fit. You're not there. You're a sottish child. You're a foolish people because you use drugs. What in the world are you using drugs for that don't make you rich? You would think as much as black people consume weed, it would make us rich. Like we got a whole entire, you would think Snoop Dogg would have a whole weed farm and a weed industry by now that's worth $1 trillion with how much it's worth. But guess what? He doesn't. He's just a consumer like you. You know what he uses his millions of dollars for that he made when he was with Dr. Dre? He uses it on drugs. He doesn't use it to make life better for black people. He doesn't use it to make things better in the black community. He uses it like a sottish child.
That's
Go
right.
ahead,
You know Snoop Dogg, you know his highlight, Snoop Dogg's highlight in getting high. Guess what his highlight is? And everybody knows this. And his highlight in getting high is smoking weed with Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
That's his biggest high. Like that's his biggest high. Like you said, he should have all this
bragging rights.
He has bragging rights of smoking with some oppressor who could give a damn about Snoop Dogg.
Right. Or black people. That's right.
That's Snoop Dogg's highlight. Getting high with Martha Stewart.
God.
That's all I know.
God, nah, that damn right. Get a brother hand. Like that's what you just love white people because they give you drugs. Like, that's it. And that's what makes you weak. Do you think you were ever going to conquer anything? How could you conquer? No wonder they're not going to school to be engineers, Elisha, or doctors or lawyers. You can't conquer getting off of weed. DMX couldn't conquer it. Your father and mother couldn't conquer it. They couldn't conquer it in the 80s. Black people couldn't conquer it in the 70s. You can't conquer it now. You're never going to do anything with your life. You're never going to become anything in life if you can't conquer the demon of being a drug addict.
That's right.
You have to put the weed down. You have to stop lying to yourself and telling yourself that it is not a drug. It is literally a drug. Literally a drug. And you need it or else you would cry every night. This is what you have to understand. Salaki, what the brother was bringing out was heavy. So once again, the drugs affect your mental. They affect... Let this blow your mind, Doc. Drugs affect somebody. Like, let that blow your mind, Doc. Drugs, you mean to tell me that if I smoke something, it's going to affect me 20 years later? Yes, you idiot. That's why God calls you idiots and foolish, sottish children.
That's right.
Because you don't know that if you smoke something, it's going to affect your well-being.
Right.
Who doesn't? Only a child doesn't know something that's going to hurt them. That's why the Lord referred to Israel as sottish children, because we're children who are silly, who are not aware of our surroundings, who gets high in the land of their captivity as if you're here to celebrate anything. If your life was so goddamn hard, why would you take rest from making it better for the next person?
Right.
You mean to tell me that your life was hard as a child, so instead of growing up and becoming something that another child who grew up just like you could look up to, you're going to go and you're going to get high and be somebody that your father was and your mother was? Make that make sense. Because it doesn't make any sense, Elisha. Like, how does that make any sense? So you mean to tell me that you had a hard life, your father was never around because he was a drug dealer or a drug addict, your mother, she allowed random men to come in and abuse you because she was on drugs and she had to support a drug habit and she had to feed the family because your father wasn't there. And you mean to tell me, as rough as your life was, through all those years in prison, through all those years you were getting abused and raped and molested in your mama's house and your grandmama's house, through all the times you had to be forced to go to church to listen to the same pastor who abused you, you mean to tell me that you grew up and you became something that they were? You mean to tell me that your entire life you went through all of this heartache and trauma and pain, and what did you do with all of that heartache and trauma and pain? Did you go be a neurosurgeon? Is that what you did with your did you go be a pediatric neurosurgeon to save the life of infant black babies and Hispanic and Native Indian babies? Is that what you did with all that trauma and pain? Did you go and become a psychologist to research why the people that hurt you did it? Did you go and be an engineer to build something so that black people, black children who are growing up like you did with a horrible childhood could look up to? Is that what you did? Is that what you became? Did you grow up to be the president of the United States? Did you grow up to be a politician that's honest? Did you grow up to be somebody that is a leader in the black community? Nah, you know what you became? A drug addict that watches Dr. Sebi videos on how to cure cancer. That's what you became. You became a nothing. You became a distant memory. You became something that your child molester wanted you to become. You became something that your abuser wanted you to become. You became nothing. You just became a victim. That's all you will ever be as long as you do drugs.
Right.
That's all you will ever be is a victim. What did you do, sis? So your mother's boyfriends molested you, they raped you. I get it, I got it. That's sad, and that they should be put to death for that. So what did you grow up to be? A whore that uses a weed addict? Some whore that smokes drugs and has sex with men to get drugs? That's what you are. You're a sister with Juicy on the back of your drawers, and you wear them in public so every child can see. And so what did you grow up to be? A whore that has sex with men to get high? That's what you are? You grew up to be something that your child molester wanted you to be. You grew up to be nothing. You grew up to have children, and guess what's going to happen to those children they have? They're going to go through the same thing you went through because you get high. You see how there's a demon on those drugs, Elisha, and it turns you into something that you don't want to be. No sister that sells her body for drugs or for money, none of them would ever admit to saying they like it. No man that sells drugs will ever admit and say, yeah, man, this is what I grew up as a child and wanted to do. There's no brother I've ever met, and I know a lot of drug dealers, some in my family, some not. And I know a lot of brothers that sold drugs, whether it be on a small scale or a large scale. There's not one cartel member that will ever tell you out of their mouth, is this something you wanted to do? They will never say yes. None of you want to do it. None of you want to get high. None of you want to be addicted to a drug. So then why do you do it? Give me Matthew chapter 12, verse 43, Bible Kushai. This is why you do it. And this will be our last scripture, and then we're gonna head out. You understand? Like, this is a problem with blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. The problem is that because drugs are so accessible, because lust and sin is so easy, you're going to take the easy way out. But there's a consequence if you take the easy way out. There's a consequence for you smoking weed. Every time you fire up a blunt, there's a consequence behind it. Every time you pop a Percocet, there's a consequence behind it. Every time you abuse a drug, every time you light up a Newport and a Camel, there's a consequence behind it,
That's
brother.
right.
There's a consequence behind it. Remember I said that.
Yeah, right.
Keep going. Read what you got.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 43. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man.
This is the consequence behind those drugs, Akim. This is the consequence behind getting high. This is the consequence behind smoking weed and digging up evil and lighting up cigarettes. This is the consequence of popping those Percocets.
That's right.
This is the consequence of popping those mollies and leaning on promethazine. This is the consequence behind it. Keep going, Ak.
He walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none.
You see, here's the problem, Elisha. Your pastor never told you that these things that you inhale like weed, these things that you pop like Percocets and Molly, they never told you there was a demon attached to it.
Right.
They never told you that it was an unclean spirit.
Right.
Just like being a rapist is an unclean spirit. Just like being a liar is an unclean spirit. Just like being a coward is an unclean spirit. Your pastor and your leaders never taught you that it is an unclean spirit on that marijuana you smoke. Your pastor, Dr. King's dream never had the unclean spirits that integration would bring, like the crack epidemic. Your leaders never told you about the unclean spirits that are on the drugs that you use. But the Bible is telling us about it right now.
That's right.
Let's keep going, Elisha, please.
Verse 44. Then he said, I will return into my house from whence I came out.
You're a sister that was just abused as a little girl. It's sad. It's absolutely sad, and it should have never happened to you. But because you were abused, guess what happened, Elisha? Guess what happened? It made you vulnerable to use drugs when you became old enough. When you're a brother and you watched your mother get beat, and you watched your mother run your father out of your house, and you watched your father abuse you and your siblings, and you watched your mother be a crackhead whore, that made you vulnerable to do drugs when you got old enough. It made you vulnerable to do drugs. This is the consequence of those drugs. This is the consequence of using those drugs. That unclean spirit that is on that Molly, that is on that marijuana, that is on that K2 and wet, that is on those Swisher Sweets and Backwoods and Newports, Dutch Masters, that unclean spirit that is all littered throughout those drugs. Guess what he's going to do, Elisha? Read that again.
Then he said, I will return into my house from whence I came out.
He's going to do what?
Return into my house from whence I came out.
So now this unclean spirit is looking for what? He's looking for
rest.
He's looking for what?
Rest.
That's what you better understand about a demon. Demons are looking for the weak. Demons are looking for somebody that was molested at 7 years old that needs something to cope with their molestation. A demon is looking for a little boy who watched his father walk out of the house, who watched his mother let other men abuse them. He's looking for rest. He's looking for you to be a victim.
That's right.
He's looking for the victim. And that's the key. If you brothers and sisters ever want to learn how to battle demons that's in the world, of course, you better come into UPK. Because we don't lose. We don't lose against anything, anybody, any spirits, clean or unclean, Elisha. I pray you understand. We do not lose because we keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And you better understand this about demons. You get high because what? You're weak. You're weak.
That's right.
And guess what this unclean spirit is doing? He's looking for the weak.
Preying on weak.
He's looking for a hurt doe out there who just needs help. Who needs help. He's looking for that hurt antelope out there that just is weak, and he's looking for the easy prey.
That's right.
He's not looking for a lion that stands bold. He's not looking for a righteous man of God under commanding General Yohana that's doing the will and work of the Lord. He's not looking for someone he's going to lose against. He's looking for some weak, molested child, some weak, abandoned little boy, some weak, abandoned little girl. He's looking for that vulnerable. He's looking for that little girl. He's looking for that little boy. And guess what? In the Black and Hispanic and Native Indian communities, he's found them. He's found a whole bunch of them because you're stinking drug addicts because of the childhood abuse that you suffer. And now all of you have unclean spirits.
That's right.
Now here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. Keep going.
And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished.
Go down to verse 45.
Verse 45. Then goeth he.
He found the perfect resting spot. This demon, this unclean spirit, what the Bible calls an unclean spirit, a demon, this demon had found the perfect resting spot. It's clean and ain't nothing wrong with this. He's like, I found it. I found a home.
Right.
I found somewhere I can make a home. And this is what this unclean spirit is going to do once he finds you. Keep reading, Elisha, please.
Then goeth he, and taketh with himself seven other spirits more wicked than himself.
Read that again.
Then goeth he, and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself.
I got daddy issues. What?
More wicked than himself.
I got mama issues.
More wicked than himself.
I got trust issues.
More wicked than himself.
I was an abandoned little girl.
More wicked than himself.
That was abused and raped and discarded.
More wicked than himself.
I was an abused little boy.
More wicked than himself.
That was discarded and abandoned and abused.
More wicked than himself.
Guess what they're going to grow up to be?
More wicked than themselves.
They're going to grow up to be brothers and sisters who are what?
More wicked than himself.
Brother, they're going to grow up to be something that they never thought they imagined.
Good night.
You a brother and sister who you never thought that you would rape that girl. You never thought that you would be a prostitute. Growing up as a little girl, you never thought that you would sell your body for drugs.
Right.
You never thought that you would sell your body and allow strange men to look at your behind for money in a strip club. You never thought that would be you. You never thought that you would be the one selling drugs, Ak. You never thought that you would be the brother that succumbed to the LGBT alternative lifestyle. You never thought that would be you. And you know why that became you? Because this unclean spirit that found a weak and vulnerable little boy, that found a weak and vulnerable little girl, guess what happened? He went and got how many more friends, Elisha?
7 other spirits more wicked than himself.
Brother, you thought that it was just going to stop at the weed. You thought that it was just going to stop at the Percocets. You thought it was just a little fun. I'll just have a little fun. The first demon came in, the unclean spirit came in, and now you smoking drugs. Now you're using drugs. Guess what this unclean spirit did, Elisha? He went and he found 7 more spirits. More what?
7, Salakia.
More wicked than
More
himself.
wicked than himself.
That's what he did. And now you thought it was just going to stop at the weed. I'm just having a little fun, Daddy. Mama, I'm just going out with some friends. And then by the time you're 22, you got a higher body count than a Vietnam veteran. You let the entire football team run a train on you because you're full of demons more wicked than the weed demon.
That's right.
Now you're a whore. Now you're a prostitute. Now you abuse children. Now you rape children like R. Kelly, who is a brother who was molested and sexually assaulted in the church. And it started with the sexual assault. And then that unclean spirit went to get unclean spirits that were more wicked than himself.
That's right.
And then it led to him molesting more girls. And he thought it was going to stop with that one girl. And if you look at any interviews of any child molesters or any serial rapists, they thought it was going to stop when they got that itch scratched with that one girl. That Jeffrey Dahmer, he said, I thought it was going to stop with this one person that I got the itch, I got it scratched. I murdered and unalived my first victim. I raped my first victim. I thought it was going to stop there. It never stops there. It never stops with just one blunt. It always is going to lead to Percocets. It doesn't stop with Percocets. It's always going to lead to Molly. It doesn't stop with Molly. Now you got to go on to bigger and better things, baby. Now you got to hit up with heroin. Now you got to start. Now you sisters, you used up all of the drugs in Kansas City. You smoked up all of the drugs in Chicago. You used all of the heroin and Percocets and Molly and wet in St. Louis. Now what do you have to do to cope with being molested? I have to whore myself to make myself feel better. That is a demon that is more wicked than the first one that entered your life. That demon is going to make you now become an alcoholic. That demon is going to make you be a drug addict. That demon is going to make you be an abuser, somebody who abuses people, a selfish, lonely piece of garbage. It all started with the weed. It all started with the cigarette.
That's right.
To ease the pain, to be something that escapes reality. That demon did what? He went and found more demons.
More wicked than himself.
More friends.
More wicked than himself.
Keep going.
And they enter in and dwell there.
They do what?
Dwell there.
They make themselves comfortable. They do what?
Enter in and dwell there.
It's my body. I do what I want.
Dwell there.
I'm an independent black woman.
Dwell there.
I'm a grown man. Can't nobody tell me what to do.
Dwell there.
I'll be damned if I listen to Commanding General Yohana.
Dwell there.
I'm an independent black woman. Can't nobody tell me what to do.
Dwell there.
I ain't listening to no man.
Dwell there.
I ain't taking no stuff from no man.
Dwell there.
You're full of HIV and gonorrhea and syphilis and multiple personality disorders and tic disorders and bipolar, tripolar, anxiety attacks. That's because you're what?
Dwell there.
That's because all of those unclean spirits found a home inside of you. If you're a brother and sister and you want to get rid of the demon of drugs and you want to shake the habit of drugs, this is step one. This is step number one.
That's right.
You have to know that it's an unclean spirit on those drugs, man. It's a demon on that marijuana. It's a demon on those Percocets. It's a demon on that Molly. You don't believe me? Go ask Whitney Houston. You don't believe me? Go ask XXXTentacion. You don't believe me? Go ask Lord Infamous and Pimp C and Michael Jackson and Prince. If you don't believe me, just go ask all of the black lives that we thought mattered in the 1980s during the crack epidemic. If you don't believe me, go ask all of the brothers that lost their lives over selling drugs and using drugs. It is a demon that is more wicked than itself. It's unclean now.
That's right.
It's a demon on those drugs that you brothers and you sisters use. It's an evil spirit, an unclean spirit. That's the first step in understanding how to get off of the drug. It's wrong. It's evil. You can't do it and be loved by the Most High God.
That's right.
You have to know that this thing is a sick thing. And the only reason I'm using it is because of the trauma and the pain that I suffered my entire life. That's step one, Elisha. That's step one. And if you're already there and you say, well, what this brother's saying is absolutely heavy, I'm going to come join the UPK. I'm going to come into UPK. I want to get off these drugs. Then that's the next move. You have to find your nearest Israelite school of universal practical knowledge under commanding General Yana so that you can receive proper help on how to fight the demon of drug addiction. That's only going to be found in the ISUPK.
That's right.
If you don't find your nearest ISUPK school, time is running out. Call the number today. It's like a help ad right here, Elisha. Call 816-308-2070 if you're in the Kansas City, Johnson County, Jackson County area. Call 816-308-2070 and come and follow Commanding General Yohana
right.
in the ISUPK so you don't have to be a weak, scared little boy anymore. So you don't have to be a vulnerable, abused little girl. You can finally get all of the help that you've been longing for your entire life.
Or
you have something you wanted to say?
Or you don't have to be a drug addict, man.
You don't have to be a drug addict
you understand?
anymore.
That drug demon doesn't have to rule your life.
Go ahead, brother.
You understand?
Right.
That drug demon doesn't have to rule your life.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to sell your kids clothes and PlayStations in order to feed the lust of that drug that you crave so heavy.
That's right.
You understand? I've seen it so many years in my youth,
right.
growing up around it, being around it,
right.
selling it. And that demon, man, it's a heavy demon.
That's right.
So I encourage any brother that's in Kansas City, I don't care a damn where you from, what set you claim, what hood you from. If you're black, Latino, or Native Indian, man, you're my brother. You understand? You're our sisters.
That's right.
You understand? So
that's right.
We want to see our people get off these drugs, man. And if I could just finish this last part on this verse before we quit.
Go ahead.
It says, because, where was I at?
A demon more wicked than itself.
And the last state of that man is worse than the first.
Yeah, the brother
you understand?
There you go.
That's what drugs do.
Yeah,
you start off cool. You see all these rappers having fun, rapping about it. You see all the brothers and sisters getting high.
Yeah, right.
Nobody that was smoking crack in the 80s thought that they would be sleeping on a curb.
That's right.
Thought that they would be selling their kids PlayStations and Nintendos. It wasn't PlayStations back there.
Right.
Sega Genesis and clothes, selling food and stealing from their mama.
Right.
Nobody thought that they would be doing that.
That's right.
Because the first state, it wasn't that bad. You were having fun.
That's right.
But the last state you're in, the later state, man, it's absolutely horrible.
That's right.
And that's what drugs have done to the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community.
Damn right.
Our last state is horrible. And the ultimate state that we'll be in our children is death.
That's right.
That's all I wanted to say.
Damn right. Damn right. What that brother said was the absolute truth. That's the time, Israel. You understand? With that, I pass the class over to Precinct Officer Elisha.
Most high Christ.
Damn right.
I got you. ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK, start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, If a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew. My Asherah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Salaki. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. We have the Lord's Passover April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina this year. You understand? Also, we have the Feast of Purim.
March 5th.
March 5th. Saturday is Sunday, Salakia. Sunday is sundown.
That's right.
You understand? Give the Lord the hand for that. This is our culture.
That's
We
right.
should be celebrating all these or keeping all these high holy days.
That's
I don't
right.
want to say celebrating sounding like a Christian. We should keep all these high holy days,
That's
man.
right.
You understand? Remind Akim and Akwat to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, or war scarf. And with that, Imadium, which means to stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the
brothers. To the brothers. One
Oh.
courtesy salute to the brothers.
Give one courtesy salute to the brothers.
Yeah, because we both was teaching.
Oh, Salakia. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the brothers that were teaching. Men of Israel, Imadium Shabbat, Imadium, Barak,
Yeah,
Yashimita. Class is dismissed.